This story is titled, "My Little Girl Called Me a Stepfather and Said My Ex-Wife's New Husband is a Better Father Than Me. I refused to pay for private university, sold her expensive belongings and luxury apartment the next day, and now my ex's lawyers are threatening me." Sup Reddit. My name is Marcus Thompson, and I'm 41 years old. I work as a welder, and for the past 9 years, I've been raising my daughter Lily alone. She's 16 now, but I've been her sole parent since she was just 7 years old. That's when her mother Diana decided that motherhood simply wasn't her thing. Diana left us for some guy she met at her yoga studio. She didn't want custody of Lily, she just wanted her freedom, or whatever she called it at the time. Honestly, I was fine with that arrangement. Maybe that's exactly why I've spent the last decade of my life covered in metal burns and breathing welding fumes, working myself to the bone to make sure that the only woman in my life who truly mattered had everything she could possibly need. I still remember the day Diana walked out on us like it happened yesterday. She packed 3 suitcases with her belongings, kissed Lily gently on the forehead, and told me with complete certainty that she was never meant to be tied down to family life. She left her wedding ring sitting on the kitchen counter, right next to a half-eaten bowl of Frosted Flakes that Lily had abandoned when she heard the arguing. Real classy exit, right? For 3 solid weeks after Diana left, Lily kept asking me when mommy was coming home. During those same 3 weeks, I was desperately trying to figure out how to be both parents to a 7-year-old while working 65-hour weeks at the fabrication shop just to keep our heads above water. The first year after the divorce was absolutely brutal. I'm talking about serving cereal for dinner because I was legitimately the worst cook you could imagine. I was trying to braid my daughter's hair with these massive, scarred hands that were better suited for handling steel than delicate hair ties. I showed up to parent-teacher conferences still smelling like metal shavings because I'd rushed straight from work. But somehow we figured it out together. We had to, because it was just the 2 of us against the world. For the past 9 years, I've completely rebuilt our lives from scratch. I'm not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. I make decent money for a tradesman, especially with all the overtime I can handle. But I made absolutely sure that Lily had everything she needed and then some. I enrolled her at Riverside Academy, a prestigious private school that costs $34,000 a year. This is where all the doctors and lawyers' kids attend classes, while I'm spending my days welding truck frames together in a hot, loud fabrication shop. For her 15th birthday, I bought her an Audi A4. I also got her a gaming PC that honestly cost more than my very first car ever did. Summer camps, private tutors, dance lessons, you name it, and Lily had access to it. This wasn't because I was swimming in cash or living some luxurious lifestyle myself. It was because I prioritized her future and happiness over literally everything else in my life. I haven't taken a single vacation for myself in years. I don't buy fancy clothes or spend money on anything unnecessary. I'm still driving the same truck that now has 190,000 miles on it, with a transmission that sounds like it's gargling rocks every time I shift gears. But every single extra dollar I earned went straight toward giving Lily the best possible shot at life. My buddy Derek at the shop always jokes that my daughter lives like a CEO's kid. And honestly, he's not wrong about that assessment. My foreman gave me all the overtime shifts I could physically handle. Night shifts, weekend shifts, holiday shifts. And I took every single one of them. Every extra dollar from those brutal hours went directly toward Lily's future. I've worked so many consecutive double shifts that the night cleaning crew actually knows me by name now. Carlos, the night janitor, brings me homemade tamales that his wife makes because he says I'm too skinny and need to eat more. It's hard to argue with that assessment when your work pants need a belt just to stay up and you're buying all your clothes from the clearance rack at Target. My daily routine became completely predictable. Work, drive Lily to her various activities, help her with homework until late at night, get a few hours of sleep, and then repeat the entire cycle. Dating? Forget about it completely. Who has time for relationships when you're working this much? Plus, bringing random women around a kid seemed like asking for unnecessary trouble and complications. My foreman Tony keeps trying to set me up with his sister-in-law, insisting that she's only slightly crazy and that she just keyed one guy's car, not 2. Thanks for the recommendation, Tony, but that's going to be a hard pass from me. The sacrifices I made over the years were absolutely real and significant. I drive a truck with 220,000 miles on it that I bought used 4 years ago. The air conditioning died completely last summer, but fixing it would have cost $900 that I simply didn't have at the time because Lily needed new dance costumes for her recital. Meanwhile, Lily's classmates at Riverside were getting dropped off every morning in brand new Teslas, while their parents casually discussed their family ski trips to Vail and other expensive vacation destinations. But I never once complained about these sacrifices, and I never made Lily feel guilty about the disparity between our lifestyle and what I was providing for her. In my mind, she deserved so much better than what Diana and I could have given her together when we were still married. So it became just the two of us against the world for almost an entire decade. Things between Lily and me were genuinely good during most of this time. They weren't perfect. She's a teenager after all, so there were the usual arguments about curfews and her grades slipping sometimes when she got too distracted by social media. You know, the typical stuff that every parent deals with. But we had what I thought was a solid, trusting relationship. She would tell me about her day while I cooked dinner in the evenings. We'd watch movies together on Friday nights, making it our special tradition. She would even help me with small projects around the house on weekends, handing me tools and asking questions about how things worked. At least, that's what I genuinely believed our relationship was like. But then, 4 weeks ago, Diana suddenly decided that she wanted back into Lily's life in a major way. She just showed up out of nowhere after 9 years of sending birthday cards with $25 bills tucked inside and making occasional holiday visits where she'd take Lily shopping for a few hours before disappearing again for months at a time. This time, however, Diana brought reinforcements. She showed up with her new husband Tyler, who works as a personal trainer and drives a leased Maserati. This guy wears tank tops even when it's 45 degrees outside because apparently his biceps need to breathe year-round. You know exactly the type of guy I'm talking about. I'm describing the kind of person who says bro in literally every sentence that comes out of his mouth. He has a different protein shake specifically designated for each day of the week. He probably spends more money on his hair products in a single month than I spend on groceries for our entire household. His Instagram account is completely filled with shirtless workout videos and motivational quotes that he definitely didn't write himself. Diana appears all over Tyler's social media pages too, posing in yoga pants and sports bras while holding various fitness products with discount codes attached. Use TylerFit25 for 25% off. You know, really inspiring and authentic content that definitely isn't just a cash grab. This guy Tyler is 33 years old and has never been married before Diana came along. He doesn't have any kids of his own either. He owns what he calls a fitness consulting business, which, as far as I can tell, means he trains 4 middle-aged women who are trying to lose their divorce weight and sell supplements to teenagers on TikTok. But he's definitely got the look that some people find appealing. Fake tan, perfect teeth, and designer everything from head to toe. Lily started spending weekends with Diana and Tyler, and I didn't fight this arrangement. I figured she deserved to know her mother, right? I thought that maybe a few weekends here and there wouldn't hurt anything. Hell, maybe having a woman's influence in her life would actually be good for her at this age, especially as she was navigating her teenage years. My neighbor Mrs. Rodriguez, who has been like a grandmother to Lily ever since Diana walked out on us, warned me to be very careful about this situation. She told me with absolute certainty, that woman didn't want the hard years of raising a child. Now she just wants the glory years when everything's easy. I should have listened to that wise lady from the very beginning. I started noticing changes in Lily's behavior slowly at first. She began coming home from these weekend visits with expensive new clothes. $200 jeans, designer purses, shoes that cost more than my monthly truck payment. She started talking constantly about followers and engagement rates like she was running a Fortune 500 company instead of being a 16-year-old with homework assignments to complete. Then came the comments about our living situation. She started making remarks about our house being basic and my truck being embarrassing to be seen in. Now, our house isn't much to look at. It's a 1,300 square foot ranch that I bought right after the divorce was finalized. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a small yard. But it's clean, it's completely paid for, and the mortgage is manageable on my income. I've kept the house in excellent shape over the years. I've fixed everything myself whenever something breaks down. I put on a new roof 3 years ago and completely redid the kitchen cabinets last winter during my time off. It's not Instagram-worthy by any means, but it's our home and I'm proud of what I've accomplished. Lily started talking constantly about how Tyler and Diana lived in this amazing high-rise apartment with a stunning view of the city and a doorman who knew their names personally. Apparently, it's some kind of luxury building downtown that has a gym, pool, and valet, parking for residents. The comments about our modest lifestyle became more frequent and more cutting. Dad, why don't you dress better? Dad, Tyler says image is everything in today's world. Dad, Maybe you should think about upgrading your truck to something more respectable. Each comment felt like a small paper cut, insignificant on its own, but they definitely add up over time and start to sting. Last Tuesday, Lily came home from a weekend with Diana and Tyler, and I could immediately tell that something was fundamentally different about her demeanor. She had this weird, nervous energy about her, like she'd been rehearsing a speech for hours and was finally ready to deliver it. I was in the kitchen at the time, trying to fix our sink that had decided Tuesday was the perfect day to start leaking all over the cabinet that I had refinished last summer with my own hands. That's when she dropped this absolute bombshell on me. I've been thinking, and you're not really my father. Like, not my real father. Tyler gets me better than you ever have. I just stared at her in complete disbelief, thinking that I must have misheard what she said. Maybe all those welding fumes had finally fried my brain after years of exposure. I was still holding the pipe wrench I'd been using to tighten the fitting under the sink when she continued with her devastating announcement. Mom says I can live with them full-time after I turn 17. Tyler's going to help me become an influencer and build my personal brand. I'm not your real father? I repeated slowly, setting the wrench down on the counter before I was tempted to throw it straight through our television. You know what I mean, she said dismissively. Biologically, yeah, obviously you're my father. But Tyler is more of a father figure to me now. He doesn't lecture me constantly about grades and college applications like you do. He actually supports my dreams and sees my real potential. Your dreams of being an influencer, I said flatly, working hard to keep my voice level and controlled. See, you're doing it right now. That dismissive attitude, she shot back. Tyler says I have natural charisma and camera presence. He says I could easily make 6 figures by the time I'm 19 if I build my platform correctly. He knows people in the industry and has real connections that could help me. I nodded slowly, feeling something cold and heavy settle deep in my chest. 9 years of working overtime shifts, burned hands, missed sleep, and ramen dinners for myself flashed before my eyes in rapid succession. 9 years of never missing a single school event, helping with homework until midnight, worrying about every cough and fever she had. 9 years of putting her needs and wants ahead of my own, always and without question. 9 years of working in 110-degree heat during summers and sub-zero cold during winters so she could have opportunities that I never had growing up. Okay, I said, my voice probably sounding too calm given the circumstances. If I'm not your real father, then I guess I don't have any real obligations to you anymore. I'll stop the private school payments tomorrow morning. Your car is going back to the dealer since it's registered in my name. And your college fund? Well, that's specifically for my daughter, and apparently that's not you anymore. The color completely drained from her face as the reality of my words hit her. Dad, wait, she started to say. Nah, it's Marcus now, I interrupted. Or Mr. Thompson, since I'm apparently just a sperm donor to you now. That Tuesday was the day I realized I'd spent 9 years raising someone who could throw it all away for a guy with biceps and empty promises. By Friday, everything had completely imploded in ways I never could have imagined. Wednesday morning, first thing, I called Riverside Academy and explained that I was withdrawing my financial support effective immediately. The administrator on the phone sounded like she'd heard this exact scenario play out before. Apparently, rich people problems, except I'm not actually rich. Mr. Thompson, this is highly unusual to do mid-semester, she said, in that particular tone that private school administrators use when they think you're being unnecessarily difficult. We'll need written notice, and there may be financial obligations through the end of the semester. So is finding out you're not someone's real father after 9 years of sacrifice, I replied. Seems like we're both having unusual days. Email me whatever forms you need. They gave Lily exactly 6 days to find alternative funding sources, or she'd be out of Riverside permanently. Next, I called the Audi dealership and explained the situation to the sales manager. He was surprisingly understanding about the whole thing. Yeah, if the car's in your name and you're making the payments, you can absolutely take it back. Want me to send a tow truck? Instead, I listed it on CarMax and got $31,000 for it. Pretty decent return on a year-old car that originally cost me $45,000 new. I wasn't even thinking about what to do with that money yet. My coworker Pete suggested a vacation somewhere tropical with room service, but Pete's been divorced 3 times, so I'm thinking his advice belongs in the garbage along with his 3 marriage certificates. My next call was to the insurance company to remove Lily from my policy. Then I called Verizon and downgraded her unlimited data plan to basic, just 2 gigabytes of data and limited texting. I also canceled the credit card I'd let her use for emergencies that somehow always seemed to include Starbucks runs and online shopping sprees. It's amazing how quickly you can dismantle a teenager's entire life of luxury when you put your mind to it. It took me 9 years to build all of this for her, but only 9 phone calls to tear it all down. Wednesday afternoon, Lily came home from school absolutely sobbing. These weren't the fake tears I'd seen her use to get out of trouble before. This was full-on ugly crying that reminded me of when she was 9 years old and her pet hamster died. "Dad, the school called me to the office during 4th period," she said between sobs. "They said you're not paying for my tuition anymore. Everyone was staring at me when I left the office. I have SATs next month and I can't switch schools right now." "Talk to your real father about it," I told her calmly. "This is completely insane," she screamed. "You're ruining my entire life over one stupid comment." "One comment?" I repeated. "You said I'm not your real father. Real fathers pay for school tuition. I'm just some random guy who fed you and housed you for 9 years, worked double shifts until my back gave out, and missed family gatherings and social events because you had recitals or games to attend. But hey, no big deal, right? I'm sure Tyler will cover your tuition with all those Instagram sponsorship deals he's always talking about." She stormed off to her room, slamming the door hard enough to shake the family photos hanging on the wall. Photos that I might as well take down now. Because what's the point of pretending we're still a family when she's made it crystal clear that I'm just the backup plan? Thursday, Diana started absolutely blowing up my phone with messages. I'm not exaggerating when I say she sent 52 texts between 6 a.m. and my lunch break. I actually counted them while eating my sandwich in the break room, nearly choking as I read through the escalating desperation. Here's a small sample of the greatest hits. "WTF is wrong with you? You can't just abandon your daughter like this. This is emotional abuse, and I'm calling the police. Tyler's lawyer cousin says this is illegal, and you'll be forced to pay anyway. Lily is traumatized. She cried all night because of what you're doing. You're destroying her future because you're jealous of Tyler and what he can offer her." Each message was more hysterical than the last. It's funny how Diana wasn't concerned about Lily being traumatized when she walked out on us 9 years ago to chase her fitness influencer dreams with some guy from her yoga studio. I guess trauma only counts when it affects her current plans and lifestyle. I responded to her exactly once. She has a real father figure now. Ask Tyler to cover the expenses. I'm sure a Maserati payment can be delayed for education. Maybe he can sell some of his tank top collection to help fund her future. Friday morning brought the real entertainment. Diana actually showed up at my workplace, and my buddy Derek texted me, "Crazy alert at the front office," about 6 minutes before security had to escort her out. She was screaming about lawsuits, about how I was destroying Lily's future, and about how Tyler couldn't afford private school because he was building his business and investing in their future together. So it turns out that sculpting abs and selling protein powder to teenagers doesn't pay quite what it used to. Who could have possibly guessed that this business model might not be sustainable? My boss, Harold, who's 62 years old and has seen absolutely everything during his 4 decades of running the fabrication shop, watched the entire spectacle unfold from his office window. After Diana was escorted off the property, he simply walked over to me and asked, "That your ex-wife?" I nodded, still wearing my welding mask flipped up and wiping sweat from my face after working near the furnace all morning. He patted my shoulder and said, "Stand your ground, brother. My second wife tried to take my fishing boat in the divorce proceedings. Now my third wife enjoys it with me every weekend." That's solid advice coming from a man who collects marriages like I collect burn scars. But he's absolutely not wrong about standing your ground when people try to take advantage of your generosity. Friday night, Lily tried a completely different approach with me. She actually cooked dinner for the first time in 3 years, cleaned her room without being asked, and even set the table using the good plates that we never use for regular meals. Then she sat me down for what was obviously a carefully rehearsed heart-to-heart conversation. Mrs. Rodriguez had warned me this was coming when I got home from work. "First, they'll try anger and threats," she told me. "Then, they'll try sweet manipulation. Don't fall for either approach because that girl's been coached by someone who knows exactly what they're doing." The dinner she prepared was spaghetti with burnt meat sauce. The garlic bread was burnt on one side but perfectly fine on the other. But she genuinely tried, and I'll give her credit for that much effort. It was clear she'd put thought into this gesture, even if the execution wasn't perfect. "Dad, I'm really sorry about what I said," she began, launching into what was clearly a prepared speech. "I didn't mean it the way it came out. You're my real dad. You've always been there for me, and I took that completely for granted." "And this sudden realization has absolutely nothing to do with losing your car in private school?" I asked directly. "I mean, those things made me realize how much you actually do for me that I never thought about before," she admitted. "I took it all for granted, and I see that now." I'm genuinely sorry for what I said. So, if I restore everything tomorrow, we're good? I pressed. You won't pull this stuff again? You won't decide next month that Tyler understands you better than I do? I promise, Dad. I'll never say anything like that again, she said earnestly. I was confused. Mom and Diana were filling my head with all this stuff about opportunities and potential and building my future. When Tyler talks about helping me become successful, it sounds so exciting compared to your lectures about grades and college applications. And when Tyler buys you a Maserati for graduation? I asked. When your mom offers you a room in their penthouse apartment, what happens then? She couldn't look me directly in the eye when I asked that question. The kid's a lot of things, but she's never been a good liar. She never has been, even when she was little. That's different, she mumbled weakly. Get out of my sight, Lily, I told her firmly. She pushed her chair back so hard that it fell over backwards, then ran to her room crying again. The problem is that she thinks she can pull the same manipulation tricks at 16 that worked when she was 6 years old. But I'm not that soft anymore, and I'm not falling for the same patterns of behavior. Saturday was the final deadline day for the school payment. Lily had been alternating between rage, tears, and love-bombing tactics all week long. She even offered to make my lunch for work, something she hasn't done since elementary school. She made me a sandwich, packed some chips, and even included a handwritten note that said, "I love you, Dad," in her best handwriting. It would have been genuinely touching if it wasn't so obviously calculated and manipulative. Diana had threatened legal action against me 7 different times since Wednesday. I finally blocked her number after she called me at work asking for $34,000 to make this right. The absolute audacity of these people thinking I'd just hand over cash like I'm some kind of ATM with legs is truly astounding. Tony from work came over Saturday night to help me fix my truck's alternator. And while we worked under the hood, I told him everything that was happening. He just shook his head in disbelief. "Man, these kids today think parents are ATMs with legs," he said. "My nephew's exactly the same way. He calls his dad a loser until he needs money for a new PlayStation, and then suddenly Dad's his hero again." I sat there looking at Lily's college fund statement that night, staring at the numbers I'd worked so hard to build over the years. $134,812. It had taken me 9 solid years to save that much money. I'd been putting away $300 or $500 a month when I could afford it, sometimes less when things were particularly tight financially. I wondered for a brief moment if I should use some of it for that motorcycle I've always wanted. Not seriously, of course, but the thought definitely crossed my mind after everything that had happened. Tony suggested a bass boat instead. "Nothing heals a broken heart like fish that don't talk back," he said. "Plus, you can sleep on a boat if you need to get away from all this family drama." Thanks for the advice, Tony, but I think I'll pass on both suggestions for now. Sunday was the school's final deadline for payment. Lily stayed home sick for the first time all year, except this wasn't for any legitimate medical reasons. The kid was in full panic mode, rotating between staying at her mom's place and coming back to mine every few hours, desperately trying to broker some kind of deal or compromise that would save her situation. I went to work anyway because metal doesn't weld itself, and my bills certainly don't care about teenage drama. We had a rush order for farm equipment that needed to be completed by Tuesday, so I couldn't afford to take time off even if I wanted to. Around noon, my phone exploded with urgent texts from Mrs. Rodriguez. "There's a fancy white car and 3 others in your driveway. Big commotion happening. Want me to run the garden hose by their open windows?" God bless that woman. She's 84 years old and still ready to throw down for the people she cares about. She's been watching out for us ever since Diana left, bringing over food when she thinks I'm not eating enough and keeping an eye on Lily whenever I had to work late shifts. I came home during my lunch break to find Diana there with what can only be described as reinforcements. She'd brought her sister Gabriella and, I kid you not, Tyler's mother, Rosa. Rosa is this 67-year-old woman who apparently thinks her son walks on water and can do no wrong. She was wearing enough jewelry to stock a small pawn shop, and the 3 of them were set up in my living room like some kind of intervention committee. Diana looked completely frazzled, Gabriella was trying to play the role of peacemaker, and Rosa was sitting there like she owned the place and had every right to be in my home. Rosa immediately started lecturing me the moment I walked through my own front door. "In our family, we don't abandon children over words," she declared with authority. "Family is everything, and my Tyler would never treat a child this way." "Your Tyler told my daughter he'd be a better father but won't pay for her school," I shot back. "He's got a leased Maserati but can't cover a teenager's tuition. Real men provide for their families. They don't just flex for Instagram followers." Gabriella jumped in, trying to be the voice of reason in this chaotic situation. "Look, everyone's emotions are running really high here, but you're being petty. Lily is still just a child who made one mistake. She's 16 years old, I replied firmly. In 9 months, she'll be legally an adult. She's old enough to say I'm not her real father, so she's old enough to deal with the consequences of those words. This isn't petty. This is called growing up, something that apparently nobody in your family understands. Diana tried pulling out the waterworks next, launching into her sob story. Her friends are all at Riverside Academy, she said through fake tears. Her whole social life is there. You're destroying her senior year over hurt feelings. Nah, Lily destroyed it when she decided Tyler was her real father figure, I replied calmly. I'm just adjusting my financial priorities accordingly. Maybe I'll finally buy work boots without holes in them for once. That's when the real piece of work showed up. Tyler himself rolled up in his white Maserati, and I could hear that ridiculous exhaust system from 3 blocks away. Bro, we need to talk man to man, he said, like we were old buddies who went way back instead of him being the guy who helped destroy my family. Sure thing, champ, I replied. You got $34,000 lying around somewhere? Listen, bro, what Lily said was out of pocket, I get that, he said, putting on his most sincere voice. But you're taking it too personal. Kids say dumb stuff all the time. They don't mean half of what comes out of their mouths. And adults deal with consequences, I told him firmly. You wanted to be her father figure? Congratulations. Now figure it out. I'm building my brand, bro, he explained, as if this was supposed to mean something to me. I got 4 clients and a supplement line launching next month. This is just temporary until my business really takes off. You can't afford to be anyone's father figure, I pointed out. Leave my property before I decide my welder's torch needs some practice on Italian leather seats. His facial expression changed dramatically then. The fake smile disappeared, replaced by genuine confusion that someone wasn't buying into his act or falling for his charm offensive. You're really going to hurt your own daughter just to get back at her mother? He asked, trying one last manipulation tactic. I'm teaching my daughter that words have consequences, I replied without hesitation. They all left after more arguing and empty threats. Rosa was yelling about lawyers and legal action. Gabriella was saying I'd regret this decision for the rest of my life. Diana was crying about Lily's future being ruined, and Tyler just looked completely confused that his charm offensive hadn't worked on me like it apparently did on everyone else. Monday morning brought Lily's nuclear option. She posted a long Instagram story about how I'm an abusive narcissist who can't handle rejection from his own daughter. She tagged half the town, including extended family, my co-workers, her classmates, basically everyone she could think of. She added a crying selfie for extra dramatic effect, and within a few hours it had gotten 1,400 likes and over 350 comments. But here's the thing about social media. People aren't as dumb as you might think they are. The comments were absolute comedy gold. Girl said he wasn't her real dad and got Thanos snapped, played stupid games, won stupid prizes. My dad would have just taken my door off the hinges. This is elite-level parenting right here. So your stepdad who drives a Maserati can't pay for school but your abusive dad did for years? Make it make sense. Derek from work texted me after seeing the post. Just saw your daughter's Instagram story. Half the shop is talking about it. Want me to tell her about the time you worked 38 hours straight to pay for her emergency dental work when her insurance didn't cover it? Nah, let her figure it out herself, I replied. These kids, man. My son didn't talk to me for a year after I wouldn't buy him a car when he was 14, Derek texted back. Now he needs money for college and suddenly I'm dad of the year again. But Diana's side of the family came out swinging in full force. My phone was absolutely blowing up with messages from her relatives, calling me heartless and saying I was traumatizing a child. They insisted I should be ashamed of myself for my behavior. These are the exact same people who never once offered to help when I was struggling to make ends meet as a single dad working overtime just to survive. They never volunteered to babysit or contribute anything towards school expenses during those difficult early years. But now, suddenly, they all had very strong opinions about my parenting decisions. Mrs. Rodriguez brought over a casserole that evening and said with her usual wisdom, "Let them talk all they want. You and I both know the truth. You were here every single day while they were posting vacation photos on Facebook. Actions speak louder than Instagram captions ever will." My brother Carlos texted me around 11 p.m. Saw Lily's post. Want me to comment and set the record straight about everything you've done for her? Nah, let her cook, I replied. She made this mess so she can deal with it. BTW, I'm unfollowing her. The kid's being a spoiled punk and mom and dad would be rolling in their graves seeing how she's acting. Tuesday morning brought the real comedy show. Lily got officially withdrawn from Riverside Academy and had to enroll at Jefferson High for her senior year. It's actually a decent public school with good test scores and solid college prep programs. But to her, it might as well have been prison. No more heated swimming pool for PE class. No more organic lunch options prepared by professional chefs. No more meditation garden where she could escape the stress of her incredibly difficult life. Just regular lockers, fluorescent lighting, and cafeteria food that comes from the same distributor as every other public school in the state. Welcome to how the other 99% of students live, princess. She barged into my room at 7 a.m. Tuesday morning, completely frantic. I have to go to Jefferson High now. Do you know what kids from Riverside call it? Jefferson Juvenile Hall. My reputation is completely ruined. Sounds like a personal problem, I told her, without looking up from getting dressed for work. Maybe Tyler can homeschool you between protein shakes and photo shoots? I won't get into Columbia now, she wailed dramatically. My whole academic record is compromised. The college counselor at Jefferson probably went to community college herself. Talk to your real father about it, I replied. Maybe he knows someone in admissions at Columbia. I hear abs open a lot of doors these days. Stop saying that, she screamed. You're my father. No, I'm not, I said calmly. Your words, not mine. I'm just the ATM that's now permanently closed for business. But Tuesday afternoon brought the absolute best plot twist yet. I got a call from my lawyer friend Keith, who I've known for years. We go way back. I welded a custom motorcycle frame for him 6 years ago when he was going through his midlife crisis and needed something to make him feel young again. He handles my legal stuff whenever I need it, which isn't very often. He was laughing so hard when he called that he could barely get the words out. Dude, you're not going to believe this, he said between fits of laughter. Your ex-wife actually tried to file some kind of emergency custody modification today, claiming you're financially abusing Lily. What? How is cutting off money that I'm not legally required to provide considered abuse? I asked, genuinely confused. That's exactly what Judge Morrison asked her, Keith replied, still chuckling. She wanted the court to force you to pay private school tuition for your daughter. Judge looked at the filing like she was reading a joke. He said, Ma'am, your daughter is 16 years old and private school isn't a legal necessity. This case is dismissed. What did Diana say to that? I asked, genuinely curious about her reaction. She started crying right there in court, Keith said. Big mistake with Morrison. He absolutely hates theatrical displays. She tried saying you were punishing your daughter to get back at her, and the judge shut that down fast. He said something like, sounds like natural consequences for disrespectful behavior to me. Maybe the girl will learn something valuable from this experience. I love Judge Morrison. The man has common sense, which seems to be in short supply these days. It gets even better, Keith continued. Her lawyer tried to argue that you were legally obligated to maintain the same standard of living you'd established for Lily over the years. Morrison actually laughed out loud and said, show me the law that says divorced fathers have to fund private school for kids who insult them. That evening, around midnight, I found a folded piece of paper that had been slipped under my bedroom door. I could tell immediately that it was from Lily based on her handwriting. The note read, Dad, I messed up. I know I really fucked up badly. Mom and Tyler have been filling my head with all this stuff about how you're holding me back and limiting my potential. How you're too strict and demanding. How I could be so much more successful without your rules and expectations constantly weighing me down. I believed them because I wanted to believe them. I guess I wanted to think there was an easier way to success than the hard work and discipline you've always taught me. I see now that Tyler can't even afford his own car lease. It's actually in Mom's name. Mom lives in a one-bedroom apartment and sleeps on a pull-out couch because Tyler uses the bedroom for his home gym and filming his workout videos. They sold me dreams they can't afford and don't even have themselves. I'm not asking for Riverside Academy back. I know that bridge is completely burned. I'm just asking for you to be my dad again. The real one. The only one who was actually there for me when it mattered. Love, Lily. I kept the note and read it twice, still thinking carefully about my response. Tony said I should frame it and hang it on her wall as a constant reminder of this lesson. Not the worst idea I've heard, honestly. When I showed Lily's note to Mrs. Rodriguez the next morning, she just nodded knowingly and said, the girl finally opened her eyes. Sometimes you have to lose everything to see what was right in front of you the whole time. This morning, Diana sent me one final text message. You won. Hope you're happy. Lily cried all night because of what you've done to her. Very, I replied without hesitation. After receiving the note, I decided to let Lily stew in her thoughts for a couple more days. The kid was walking around the house like a ghost, barely eating anything and coming straight home from her new school instead of hanging out with friends like she used to. She hadn't posted anything on Instagram for 4 days straight, which is practically a miracle for any teenager these days. She even cleaned the kitchen without being asked twice, which is when I knew she was genuinely sorry. Not just sorry that she got caught. Mrs. Rodriguez stopped by Thursday with more food because this woman must think I'm wasting away to nothing, and she gave me her usual wisdom. "The girls learned her lesson," she said firmly. "Don't torture her too much longer. She's still your daughter, no matter what stupid things she said." Easy for her to say, I thought. It's not her kid who threw away 9 years of sacrifice. It's not her $34,000. It's not her 9 years of working overtime and missing out on life. But Mrs. Rodriguez has been right about most things over the years, so I took her advice under serious consideration. Lily spent Thursday night working on homework at the kitchen table instead of being locked in her room scrolling through social media like usual. She didn't ask for help with her calculus homework, even though I could clearly see her struggling with the problems. She didn't complain about the public school's heavier workload or the less personalized attention from teachers. She just quietly worked until almost 1 a.m., then cleaned up after herself and went to bed without saying a word. Friday afternoon, I finally decided to sit her down for a real conversation. "Let's talk about your note," I said. She immediately started crying. Real ugly, snot bubble crying that would make her Instagram followers unfollow her immediately. This was the kind of crying that comes from actually understanding what you've lost, not the fake tears she used to use to get out of trouble. "Dad, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I ruined everything. I'm so stupid. I just wanted to get to know my mom better. And she made it sound like you were the bad guy, like you were the reason she left in the first place. Your mom left because she met Tyler at the yoga studio and decided being a mother was too boring for her lifestyle," I explained calmly. "That's it. End of story. She said you were controlling," Lily continued, "that you wouldn't let her pursue her dreams of building her brand and becoming successful. Her dream was to be a fitness influencer," I replied. "She had 180 followers and spent our mortgage money on supplements she never sold to anyone. But sure, I was the problem for wanting to pay rent and buy groceries instead of funding her fantasy." Saturday brought what I can only describe as the nuclear option. Apparently, Tyler got arrested, and the news was absolutely incredible. It turns out that Mr. Maserati was running a supplement scam the entire time. He'd been selling fake pre-workout powder as pharmaceutical grade to his clients, charging premium prices for what was basically flavored chalk. One of his clients, a 20-year-old kid who was trying to bulk up for football season, ended up in the hospital with severe heart palpitations after taking Tyler's premium supplements. When the police searched Tyler's apartment as part of their investigation, they found $60,000 worth of counterfeit products stored in his closet, along with steroids and other substances that he definitely wasn't selling at the local GNC. Derek texted me the news article with a simple message: "Karma's a bitch." Diana called me around 6 p.m., absolutely losing her mind with hysteria. "This is your fault," she screamed into the phone. "If you hadn't been so petty about Lily, I wouldn't have pressured Tyler about money. He only did this because I was stressing him out about finances." "So your guy commits fraud and somehow it's my fault?" I asked incredulously. "That's Olympic-level mental gymnastics there, Diana. You should compete professionally." "I need money for his bail," she continued desperately. I actually laughed out loud. "Ask his mother. She seems to think he's absolutely perfect. Maybe she can sell some of those gems she wears everywhere." Sunday was senior skip day at Jefferson High, but Lily went to school anyway. When she came home, she said something that surprised me. "It's actually not that bad there. The kids are more real, less pretentious than at Riverside." "Oh, really?" I asked, genuinely interested in her perspective. "There's this one girl, Zoe, in my AP Calculus class. Her dad works at the steel mill," she continued. "She saw my Instagram post about you, and she told me I was an entitled brat who deserved exactly what I got." "Sounds like a smart girl," I replied. "You should listen to her." "I think we might actually become friends," Lily said thoughtfully. "She doesn't care about followers or any of that social media stuff. She wants to be an engineer and already has all her scholarship applications ready for college." "Focus on graduation first, princess," I told her. "I know, Dad. I know," she replied quietly. After reading her note, I had let Lily stew in her own thoughts for several days. The kid was walking around the house like a complete ghost, barely eating anything and coming straight home from her new school instead of hanging out with friends like she used to do. She hadn't posted a single thing on Instagram for 4 consecutive days, which is practically a miracle for any teenager. She even cleaned the kitchen without being asked twice. And that's when I knew she was genuinely sorry. not just sorry that she'd been caught. Mrs. Rodriguez had stopped by Thursday with yet more food because this woman seriously thinks I'm wasting away to nothing, and she shared her usual wisdom with me. The girls learned her lesson, she said with certainty. Don't torture her too much longer. She's still your daughter, no matter what. Looking back on everything that's happened over these past few weeks, I can honestly say I don't regret my decision. Sometimes as a parent, you have to make the hard choices that teach real lessons about consequences and respect. Lily learned that words have power, and that taking someone's sacrifices for granted comes with a price. The irony of the whole situation isn't lost on me. Diana and Tyler promised Lily a glamorous life of influence and success. But when it came time to actually provide for her basic needs like education, they were nowhere to be found. Tyler's business was built on lies and fraud, and Diana was living in a fantasy world funded by other people's money. Meanwhile, I'd been there every single day for 9 years. Through homework struggles, sick days, school events, and everything in between. I worked double shifts until my back ached and my hands were permanently scarred. Also, she could have opportunities I never had. And when she decided that wasn't good enough, that I wasn't her real father, I showed her exactly what life looks like without that foundation of support. Mrs. Rodriguez was right, as she usually is. Sometimes you have to lose everything to see what was right in front of you the whole time. Lily's apology note showed me that she finally understood the difference between empty promises and genuine sacrifice. She learned that flashy cars and social media followers don't pay for the important things in life. The college fund is still sitting there, all $134,812 of it. I haven't touched it, and I probably won't need to. Lily's working harder now at Jefferson High than she ever did at Riverside Academy. She's making real friends like Zoe, who care about substance over image. She's seeing what the real world looks like, and it's teaching her lessons that no private school ever could. Will I eventually restore some of the privileges she lost? Maybe. But it won't be because she manipulated me or because Diana threatened me with lawyers. It'll be because Lily proves through her actions, not her words, that she understands the value of what she had and the sacrifices that made it possible. For now, I'm content knowing that my daughter is learning one of life's most important lessons. Respect isn't given automatically just because you share DNA with someone. It's earned through actions, maintained through gratitude, and lost through careless words. Tyler's in jail, Diana's back to reality, and Lily's finally growing up. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone you love is let them face the consequences of their choices. It's not easy, but it's necessary. And honestly, I'm sleeping better than I have in years.